Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's one of the most diminutive tracks in common use on iRacing, but Tsukuba Circuit's 2,000 metre, 2 kilometre layout has been a big favourite of time trialling and of racing in these kind of cars. Welcome to Ozicar Formula Ford Series. Certainly a track that doesn't necessarily work for big cars, but it can work great for these Formula Fords for skip barbers. Ozicar Formula Ford Series rolls on our little Asian tour here at Tsukuba. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens as we get ready for the sprint racing Formula Ford action to come.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Dave. Tonight's racing, obviously, short type of the circuit. This is one that's been on the calendar. I have been looking forward since the calendar was announced at the start of the season. And tonight, very quick lap times. I think traffic's going to play a really important part here in how people manage to get through the field and whether they can pick the traffic and get a good run.
So here it is. The satellite needs to zoom in a little bit further to give us a look at this layout of Tsukuba. There are some slightly smaller ones as well, but your key overtaking opportunities are, of course, into turn 1, at the end of the back straight into turn 12, and also you can sometimes send a little surprise dive bomb from turn 9 into turn 10 there. But it is a small track. It is all about keeping the momentum. It's not super high speed, but that consistency and that racecraft will be important, and it does mean that in our 20-minute sprint races, you're going to get a couple of laps around here. You're going to see every corner a couple of times.
Yeah, 2 kilometre circuit, 19 cars entered tonight, so traffic is definitely going to play a part. Another little passing opportunity if your game is in between 4 and 5. So there is some passing opportunities, but you might just have to set the pass up a couple of positions or a couple of corners before it actually takes effect.
There's our format for the Ozicar Formula Ford action tonight. Qualifying has just finished. We go into the 20-minute, 20-lap race 1, where in lieu of the compulsory pit stop, it will just be a compulsory drive-through for all drivers. And race 2, similar with the progressive grid. This is the points as they stand at the moment. Calculated that Stuart Vaughan has a 10-point lead ahead of teammates James Chastanoff and Jacob Wallmeyer. And then Kyle Ridley, Brodie Shepherd, Sean Doyle through to 6th place there. Dennis Hancock, Nathan Verney, Adrian Sarkis and Warren Henry as our top 10 in the championship at this phase of the calendar. And this is the grid as they're getting ready for the first of those 20-minute, 20-lap races. Adrian Duke and Stuart Vaughan are up front in qualifying from Sean Doyle, James Chastanoff, Brodie Shepherd and Ben Miles in 6th. And then Kyle Ridley, Aaron Freund, Warren Davis, Nathan Verney, Dennis Hancock and Jacob Wallmeyer. A jump start from the second row of the grid there from James Chastanoff. He's gone too early. The clutch has slipped. He's coming to a halt and it's cost him big time as race 1 gets underway and they make the short run subtly uphill towards turn 1. Track really narrows on the way through this turn 1 hairpin as well. The pit straight's a little bit wider than the tight and technical infield that they approach now.
Yeah, they're going to have to sort themselves out real quickly, and that jump start for our second place sitter in the championship is going to be absolutely critical, remembering it is a progressive grid for race number 2. So be interesting. I would suggest you'll dive into those pits, serve that penalty, which I don't think will be classed as his drive through pit lanes. You'll have to make 2 trips down over the course of this 20 laps.
You'd be pulling a really sneaky one on race control if you thought you could pull that one off. almost most of the way around the first lap of racing already. Stuart Vaughan's gotten ahead of Adrian Duke for the lead of the race as they approach the fastest sweeping corner of the lap, the final lap. There goes a couple of cars to the pit lane, and it's a narrow, difficult little pit entry there. Warren Davis is off on the outside of the final corner, so a lot happening in a very short moment of racing.
Yeah, one lap completed already as the tail end of the field make their way around past Bernie for lap number one. Quick Ozicar.net replay here of this start. Watch car 42 on the left-hand side, the white car. Just getting a little bit eager on that throttle, makes a absolute balls up there and got half the car over the line. So I don't think that'll just be a drive-through. That'll probably be a stop and hold penalty.
Yeah, the black flag was out for him almost instantaneously, and there was the move that Stuart Vaughan made into turn one to get to the lead of the race, where he sits at the moment with Adrian Duke right behind him, once again heading down that back straight towards the sweeping final turn 12. Brody Shepherd in third, and he's leaning over towards that pit entry, where I think he's going to be followed in by James Chastanov. Is it Kyle Ridley staying out on the track at the moment? And so a few drivers have been through pit lane already, like Sean Doyle, Ben Miles, Jacob Wallmeyer, and Benjamin Wheeler. Here come just a couple more.
So yeah, a couple of cars in pit lane. Stuart Vaughan leading this one at the moment, showing Adrian Duke the tailpipes of his little Formula FF 1600, as he has done plenty of times so far this season. Adrian Duke qualifying on pole tonight, so really this short little tight twisty track suiting his driving style, managing to secure a pole position. So Adrian's showing good pace throughout the course of the season.
And he's powered by coffee, as usual. You can get them in a can here in Japan, out of a vending machine, 5 of them on every street corner, I'm led to believe. They're going to stay out of the pit lane for the moment, and this is certainly a track where traffic could be interesting. I'm seeing that the drive-through is 13 seconds, around a lap that is underneath a minute already. Very quickly, our leaders will start catching some cars that have made their pit stop to put them a lap down.
So those keeping count, Chastanov did actually drive through, didn't actually stop in his pit base. So we'll have to keep an eye on whether he reserves that penalty again, because he's only got a certain amount of laps to do it. Aaron Freen just making his way back onto the circuit after a little whoopsie there on the infield on the exit of turn number one. I don't think he lost too many positions, but very good awareness there to avoid Jordan Dakin, as he has a roundabouts as he tries to make his way back onto the circuit.
Yeah, a handful of little whoopsies going on in a couple places through the field. That's one of them, yeah. So he goes off at turn one, and then at the very next braking zone has a little bit more drama as he's side by side with one of the rejoining cars, who then I think loses it in front of him. Yeah, a little bit too much. Ooh, really hooking the curb at the apex there, and it sort of gripped him up and spun him around.
So back to the lead of the race, Stuart Vaughan still under control up the front. Adrian Duke applying plenty of pressure in P number 2. As you can see, only 0.3 of a second separating these two here at the moment. Then it is about a 1.6 second gap back to Kyle Ridley sitting in P3. So just you can see him in the background appearing in the screenshot now. So the top two making a little bit of a break for it. Lonely drive for Kyle sitting in third, and then Nathan Verney sitting in P4.
That's what's going on for the moment. A little bit of banking through that corner there. You see Stuart Vaughan takes it a little wider, a little higher than Adrian Duke does. Same thing happens at turn 4 in the infield as well, where there's just a little bit of camber to the road, and you don't have to be all the way up against the curbing on the inside. Sometimes it helps to be just a little bit higher. It's a lot flatter through the final corner though. You get all of that beautiful concrete runoff that you can use up out of the final corner before you then straighten up a very short run immediately into turn 1. Sometimes you want to turn in wide there as the circuit narrows on exit. Warren Davis going to be one of the next drivers to pit in. Jordan Dakin joining him as well. So still early in this race as they're just starting lap 6 of 20, but we have had a lot of pit callers.
Yeah, a couple of little battles out on track at the moment. The one we are watching now is Sean Doyle, and in behind him in the 74 car. Sean Doyle in the 74 car in the black Verminion Motorsports. As we look over the top of his shoulder, as he has the chase on, he's got his eyes straight forward trying to catch Ira Philberg, I believe it is. sitting in P number 7. Good showing for Ira tonight.
So Sean Doyle's the highest running driver that has pitted at this point. In front of him, Ira Felberg hasn't yet, and same is true of all the cars up from Ira Felberg, Friend Hancock, Vernie, Ridley, etc. And so knowing that and what's going on, I don't think there was much of a defense at all there from Ira Felberg as Sean Doyle gets that track position that is super critical to the early pit stop strategy working, not getting tangled up in too much traffic like that and having to fight cars that haven't made the pit stop that you have.
Yeah, Ira's a very wise and experienced racer, and he's picked up quite a number of good positions throughout the course of his iRacing Aussie car career just by keeping his nose clean and picking your battles, which is very, very important to his little open wheel cars, particularly on tight, twisty circuits like we are here tonight, because once you tangle those wheels and you cop a little bit of damage, that could be all over Red Rover for your race. So yeah, Ira doing a pretty good job at the moment. He'll be under a bit of pressure from these guys on screen. They're making great grounds on him at the moment. This is Chastanoff, Shepherd and Wallmeyer, all currently sitting P 9, 10 and 11 on track.
Another pit caller there on the inside of turn, the final corner, and you've got to be careful there, because if you get into that entry too quick, you will get sort of spat out wide back onto the racing surface. So Dennis Hancock and Ira Felberg both pit, now left with just our top 5 that haven't, and there's drama at turn 1.
So Brady Shepherd, I think they're facing the wrong... No, sorry, Sean Doyle facing the wrong way, and a good avoidance there from James Chastanoff and Brady Shepherd to avoid him, because he was sitting in a rather precarious position on the racing line on the exit of turn number 1. So would have been a heart and mouth moment for that driver, just sitting there like a little duck. Jump on board and have a quick replay and just watch the wheel work as the back end steps out on him. And then it's being such a short wheelbase, it doesn't take a lot for these cars to end up facing the wrong way.
That's what happened to Sean Doyle. He's no longer the highest running car to have stopped. That's now James Chastanoff, Brody Shepherd and Jacob Wallmeyer, who are a little up the road from him. No pit stops yet from Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke.
Yeah, they haven't hit traffic yet, so I'm expecting once they get traffic within sight, that's when they'll probably dive into pit lane, give themselves a breather and hopefully come out with a little bit of clear track around them. Time will tell. But
the pace at the moment running long is very good from that leading duo as well, as they are a little further away from some of the traffic and the other things that just force you to slow up a little bit at times. So this is Chastanoff in front of Shepherd. Wallmeyer going all 4 off the road in his pursuit of these drivers, losing out a little bit of time there. Yeah,
Wallmeyer just dropping off the back of this little group with that little mistake, but not enough where I don't think he'll fall out of slipstream, but being a short, tight little track, slipstream doesn't play a huge effect. Very, very unusual little reaction there. Just almost looks like it was a mechanical glitch of some kind.
Rear slid out early in the corner. He steered into the slide to save it, but that pushed him out wide, and then he ran across the grass. There's Aaron Friend going through the pit lane, rejoining behind this battle that we were watching. Brody Shepherd right with James Chastanoff. Now, taking the drive-through when he did clear the black flag for Chastanoff, so I guess we'll hear more about that later.
So Chastanoff's currently sitting P4 as the leaders make their way around the last corner onto the straight. It's 1-2. Then it is our fastest lap setter, Kyle Ridley. He started the race in P7. He finds himself on the back end of the podium without too much threat at the moment. So good little drive there from Kyle to sit comfortably on the bottom step of the podium. And that looks like one of the Ozicar.net cars facing the wrong way. This is car 72, Ira Felberg, after talking up his praises a little bit earlier on. Just having a quick little excursion off into the dirt.
Yes, going for a little loop here at turn 10. Oh, he sees an opportunity. He gets in on a tight line, has to lift off the throttle at the same time. He's got a whole lot of steering cranked in, and that's classic. Lift off oversteer. He saw a little opportunity. He went for it, but it put him on a line that he wasn't accustomed to, put the car dynamically into a difficult position. Here are your leaders once again staying out just crossing the halfway point in his first of 2 races. And the next car that they're going to catch for traffic is Ben Miles. So when that happens, they might start to think, but there's still 5 or 10 seconds. Yeah, about 10 seconds till they get to him.
So Stuart Vaughan setting a pretty good pace at the front. Adrian Duke giving an answer of everything that Stuart Vaughan is throwing at him at the moment, sitting comfortably in P number 2. He looks like he's quite happy there just to shadow Stuart this part of the race, knowing that there is a progressive grid for race number 2. So you don't want to potentially throw away a good result in race number 1 and put yourself buried deep into the pack for race number 2 coming up shortly. Looks like they're going straight past the pit entry to complete yet another lap, as you would expect.
You watch Vaughan steering in most of these corners. He's very gentle in tipping the nose into the corners. Unlike maybe some of the other drivers who are getting that rear end stability, it's only about here that he's got the maximum lock on very late in the corner, just slowly bringing the nose of the car to the corner. Sort of like how bike riders slowly tip into a corner before they reach the sort of maximum lateral loading.
So Kyle Ridley sitting in P3 was the first of our leaders to blink. He has a dive into the pits, if that's a word, and in the process, Adrian Duke using the slipstream of the pole of the car. 22 sitting at the front took the fastest lap of the race. So it'll be interesting to see. Looks like Kyle's come out in some clean traffic. So I wonder if the 2 leaders will ever realise exactly what's going on, knowing that they could potentially do the same.
The super late apex from the race leader, Adrian Duke, still right on him, leading another lap, 7 to go. Oh, a sideways moment from Duke as he aggressively turned into the first corner, had to catch a little bit of a slide there.
Just interestingly, Kyle pitted while he was in P3 and he had enough gap to James Chasanoff in P4 to actually come out on the track still in P3. So didn't lose any track positions in the process. You can see that battle for 4th and 5th just in the background behind. So good little battle there for Kyle, probably 3 or 4 seconds. So nice clean little pit lane transit for him without too many issues.
From a bit of clean air to a little bit of clean air, that's the dream, but it also suggests that Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke have a couple more seconds in hand over the rest of them as well. A few other battles through the field, like Dennis Hancock and Sean Doyle there, who's recovering from a spin. Benjamin Wheeler and Nathan Verney fighting each other. Leaders staying out yet another trip of Tsukuba 2000. I've heard a couple of different pronunciations on how to pronounce the name of this circuit, so I'm not confident that mine is right, but not all of them can be.
I think it's one of those things, depends on which side of the border you're from, potato, but to me it's Tsukuba.
Castle.
Correct. So nice little battle here going into P number 1. Again, this is Sean Doyle, Dennis Hancock. Sean just having a look down the inside. I'm sure Simspeed's number 1 ticket holder and supporter is out cheering on her son again tonight, as she is every single week. Quick shout out to Donna in the chat.
She's lurking. I'm not sure if she's made herself known this evening. Doyle's trying to make himself known here behind 7th place. Dennis Hancock, you can see the difference in where Doyle's willing to brake, but again, it's a tight, twisty little circuit around a short lap. You've really got to maybe set some moves up a couple of corners in advance. So there you go wide, turn in late, carry speed on the exit. Try to make them defend here. Just show a little bit of the nose. Doyle's down the inside, very tight on the way into the corner where you see others try to open up the entry. He's made the pass work by the line, but still needs to cover it off in towards turn 1, because here comes the fight back from Dennis Hancock.
You can see just the wheel work that Sean Doyle had to do to get that move stuck on the inside of that last corner onto the straight. They go side by side down through the infield section. Sean Doyle has the run on the inside, and looks like Dennis Hancock does his best to slip in behind and keep his mirrors, or show Sean's mirrors full of the Jamaican bobsled paint livery.
So he is
Benny Wheeler and Nathan Verney.
correct.
Hard at it as they go underneath the Dunlop Bridge for the 16th time with 4 laps to go of this 20-lap race number 1.
Vernie showing a little bit of nose there. They're not trying to go down the inside, trying to take a different line through that corner and onto the back straight. Longest full throttle run here, just getting up to enough speed that the slipstream starts to help you. It's very strong in these Formula Fords. At the other tracks that we go to, it's very strong at Okayama and Suzuka, but here, not quite so much. It feels like big go-karts on a big go-kart track.
Very, very different lines there for Nathan Vernie and Ben Wheeler in front. You can just see how each driver takes their line and potentially how it affects them on the exit of the corner. But on tracks like this, track position is key, because you really got to make that car attacking from behind really work hard to get the job done. So Ben Wheeler sitting in a pretty good position at the moment, apart from the fact he's having a few little technical issues. I'm sure that'll be setting Nathan Vernie's heart rate going, just not quite sure where he's going to re-emerge.
Here's Brodie Shepherd on James Chastanoff towards turn 1. Again, this difference of lines through here. Oh, a tiny bit of dirt on the exit from Chastanoff. Hurts his drive as he gets sideways, kicks up a little bit of dust, and is yet under more pressure through the infield of the circuit in the only significant left-hander to talk about.
Yeah, very much like a little paperclip, this track. It's quite a lot of right-hand turns, and like you said, very minimal left-hand commitment. So working the tyres quite differently. But as we have 2.5 laps to go, it's really the time that Adrian Duke probably needs to start thinking about putting a little bit of pressure on if he's going to try and make a move and go for the win here. But the battle for 4th and 5th on screen is probably the closest on track at the moment, which is the one we're watching. Warmire just there in the background in the blue paint livery, just waiting and hoping for an opportunity with the 2 cars in front to make contact so he can take advantage. But with 2 laps to go, time is quickly running out.
Yep, only 2 laps to go and only 2 drivers that haven't pitted. It's these two, Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke. They're going to have to go through the pit lane very, very shortly. It looks like the drive-through transit time's about 13 seconds. They have 15 over Kyle Ridley. And here they go. They should have plenty of time in hand to not need to attack this pit entry or anything too much. It's just a battle between each other for the lead here, Vaughan and Duke. And now just hitting that pit entry, driving through, and then rejoining in towards turn number 1. Here is 3rd place, Kyle Ridley, just working his way through the final corner. Here, starting the final lap, Vaughan and Duke emerge still in the race lead, and by a little bit, can Duke find anywhere on this final lap to try to pass?
He's been sitting patiently for the last 19 laps. I think he's just probably at 2 or 3 car lengths back from Stuart Vaughan at the moment. So unless Stuart Vaughan drops the wheel off in the dirt or does something crazy, Adrian Duke's not going to be close enough to potentially make a move with only a couple of corners to go here on the final lap. Adrian Duke throwing everything he can at it to try and make up that little bit of ground, but Stuart Vaughan looks like he has things under control just as they come up to the last of the cars on the lead lap as well. So good timing from the leaders there not to necessarily get caught up in too much traffic.
Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke in lockstep all race long for the first of 2 races. Aussie car from Tsukuba for the Ozicar Formula Ford, but it's Stuart Vaughan who takes the win and makes the championship look even more likely for himself. Duke not able to convert that pole position, finishing 2nd. Ridley completing the podium, and here comes James Chastanoff and Brodie Shepherd 4th and 5th. Progressive grid from this race into the next, and it's side by side on the back straight with Warren Davis and Benjamin Wheeler. Looks like Wheeler going around the outside, not finding a whole lot of grip offline, but the tight line on the inside can check you up a little bit, and just almost a photo finish there, but Davis ahead of Wheeler from Nathan Vernie, who saw them side by side in front of him. Couldn't do anything about it on a narrow track like this.
Yeah, we forecast good little battles from the front of the field right through to the back, and that's exactly what race 1 delivered. So I'm expecting no different again for race number 2. We'll quickly look at the results for race number 1, Dave. I'll let you run through them.
Stuart Vaughan winning ½ second from Adrian Duke, but they were a lot closer than that for many of the 20 laps. Kyle Ridley in third from James Chastanoff, who maybe dodged a bullet on that jump start that he made. He didn't actually gain anything from it as he came to a complete stop, and that may look favourably in his eyes from the stewards. Brodie Shepherd fifth, then Jacob Woolmeyer, Sean Doyle, Dennis Hancock, Aaron Friend, and Warren Henry as the top 10. Side of the page, Warren Davis, Ben Wheeler, Nathan Verney. Look how close those three were on the timing. Ahead of Ira Felberg, Ben Miles, John Snell, Darren Lasue last car on the lead lap, Jordan Dakin just dropping off, and Darren Shannon with some problems in that one. 19 cars can still take the start of race number 2. That one's a couple minutes away. Stay with us on Simspeed TV when we come back. The second race from Tsukuba in Ozicar Formula Ford. Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. Aussie Car Formula Ford Race 2 shortly to come, and of course Aussie Car, with thanks to Sim Racing League's Locked On Lads Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. It's round 4 from Tsukuba Circuit. Last round, we unfortunately didn't get to bring you coverage on Simspeed TV, and we apologise for that, but it was the sort of classic retro throwback with Skip Barbers, in fact, replacing the Formula Fords for one round at Fuji Speedway No Chicane. Here we are, though, at round 4, with still Twin Ring Motegi on the road course and Okayama International Circuit short. Still to come, Jason.
Yeah, so we are just over the halfway point of the season, so still plenty of action and plenty of points up for grabs, and of course every point does count. So for those that had a horror round or a horror race, there's still plenty of opportunities to stamp some dominance within this season, as we've got a couple more circuits to visit after tonight. But yeah, that should take us through towards the middle of November, and it's amazing how quickly these little 6-round seasons fly by.
Sure does. We've still got one more race to fly by tonight. 20 laps of Tsukuba full, the 2000 layout. And of course, with that progressive grid, it means Stuart Vaughan, your race 1 winner, starts on pole. The dirty, no, that's clean side of the racetrack. Adrian Duke is in second, and then Kyle Ridley, James Chasnoff, Brodie Shepherd, Jacob Wallmeyer, Sean Doyle, Dennis Hancock, Aaron Friend, Warren Henry, Warren Davis, Benjamin Wheeler, Nathan Verney, Ira Falberg, Ben Miles, John Snell, Darren Lesueur, Jordan Dakin, and Darren Shannon. The weather conditions look to change a little more overcast at this moment. They're all revving, they're ready to go, 20 laps on the board, final race for Ozicar Formula Ford from Tsukuba, and on the front row, no jump starters, but Stuart Vaughan, great drop of the clutch, good bite, a lot of wheel spin from those behind, including Adrian Duke immediately under pressure in turn number 1. They're looking to the inside, they're looking to the outside, almost a little bit of contact there. Vaughan serenely away into the race lead, but it's his battle second, third, fourth, where it's all heating up on cold tyres in the Formula Fords for race 2.
Yeah, it's all about confidence on these cold tyres. Chasnoff, they're looking pretty racy, but he just tries to move around the outside at the hairpin. That's one of the Banner Alliance cars, Warren Davis, backwards into the wall on lap number 1, so cold tyres potentially catching him out. But Dennis Hancock leading a little train as well, currently in P8, so he's got a gaggle of cars of not Wallmeyer, I'm not sure who that is, having a quick look down the inside, but getting the move done.
Kyle Ridley's been muscled off the racing line and he's lost 2 positions to James Chasnoff. Brodie Shepherd's alongside him at the moment, I think with the inside line into the final corner. This could be really challenging to see Jacob Wallmeyer all over them, as well as a couple of cars dive to the pit lane to clear their compulsory drive through, and Jordan Dakin loops around and gets collected in the final corner on board with Wallmeyer. He's looking for a gap between 2 cars to try to gain some positions here as well, all happening everywhere in the opening laps.
Yeah, very, very busy, and cars going too wide in quite a number of certain parts of the circuit. So those drivers that have dove into the pits on the end of lap number 1, that's Warren Davis here doing a pretty good job to avoid all those cars behind, or should I say the car's doing a good job to avoid Warren. But you can see these cars diving into the pits. I reckon that just might pay dividend, because there's quite a few little battles out on track at the moment.
And he gets the inside curb, spins around, and then I think it's Warren Davis again, is it? Darren Shannon, in fact. So both of them sustaining big damage at the final corner. Kyle Ridley dives to the pit entry. Stuart Vaughan still leads from Adrian Duke. It's the battle behind over third that's been ferocious so far in this race. James Chasnoff and Brodie Shepherd have gained a couple of spots there as they muscled third place away from Kyle Ridley. Jacob Wallmeyer, it's almost a repeat of the battle we saw for 4th, 5th and 6th in the last race. Now they've just moved themselves up 1 spot.
Yeah, Kyle Ridley's had his turn through the pit lane. He's completed his transit. He's decided to get out of this little battle and try and make up some time on track by just having some clean air around him. A little bit further back in the field, though, Aaron Friend, Nathan Verney and Ben Wheeler on screen at the moment. This is 6, 7 and 8. The battle just inside the top 10. So Aaron there in the almost Benetton looking at livery there, quite distinctive.
Leighton House, you Philistine. It's clearly the 90 or the 91 livery. He's looking for pit entry, though. He does have the Ayrton Senna helmet, though, to just confuse it, because that's a driver who drove for neither of those teams.
Nothing quite like mixing it up and keeping us guessing as we have a quick look at that helmet. Very, very distinctive helmet that Senna had. Quite a lot of yellow throughout his career.
So depending on where you draw the line between Tolman becoming Benetton, it was Tolman when he drove for them. So Brodie Shepherd has ended up behind Jacob Wallmeyer. Wallmeyer in the blue car making a little bit of progress, and here's how, as he had a bit of overlap and got to the inside of the final corner. Possible to get to the inside, but tough to even complete that because there's all that room on the outside that the other driver can use to carry momentum, but he just keeps the overlap towards turn 1 where it's far easier to turn the inside line into a position.
As we see another customer dive in for his pit lane transit, Brodie Shepherd out of P5, so diving in quite early, lap 4 of 20. That's one of the locked-on cars. Nathan Verney, they're having a bit of a tank slapper, getting the back end all loose, coming through the final corner onto the straight. Only lost one position out of it, but more importantly, lost a heap of track time.
All on his lonesome, final corner, bit of a slide on the way in, cannot save it. At the same time, Dennis Hancock, I think, went for a bit of a slide and got more rotation than him even as well. So a few drivers still struggling here on what's a short and deceptively technical racetrack. You've got to get absolutely every millimeter right. It's the story of Japan, I think, making the best use of all of the available space.
Well, teammates on screen in the form of Brody Shepherd, Sean Doyle battling it out for 8th and 9th at the moment as well. So no doubt they're talking to each other. And I think Sean's sitting comfortably behind at the moment. No point battling and tripping over each other at this early stage of the race. We're only on lap 5 of 20 here in tonight's race 2 feature race. On saying that, Sean pulls out for the slipstream, has a little look into the final corner as John Snell rejoins the circuit after sending off a little bit of smoke signals there through that right-hander.
He also looped at turn 11, but the battle carries on in turn 1 here between Doyle and Shepherd. Doyle stays ahead for the moment. Having a look at some of how that all played out. Kyle Ridley's just up the road in front of them, but to the inside, Sean Doyle making good use of it, and Brody Shepherd, I think, giving him plenty of space there as well.
So Stuart Vaughan leading this one on lap 6 of 20 as he did in race number 1. If he looks in his mirror, it'll be a very familiar sight of Adrian Duke, our fastest lap holder in the Powered by Coffee livery, just shadowing him again. A complete replica of how things unfolded in race number 1. It looks deja vu here in race number 2 all over again.
So, if things are looking exactly the same as race 1 from Adrian Duke's perspective, what do? Do you just keep following Stuart Vaughan and bag another second place? Or do you look to try to pit early and hope Vaughan catches some traffic or doesn't maximise his pit entry? Because the pit lane transit times I've got are from cone to cone, but there's almost the same length of gain of that narrow, difficult pit entry lane on the inside of the final corner. You can gain or lose some time by how aggressively you attack that. Does Duke want to have an offset of 1 or 2 laps to Vaughan?
Well, looking at the timing system on the left-hand side, we did discuss it. It was about a 13-second transit time down pit lane, and if he does that at this stage, you'll find himself right back amongst Kyle Ridley, Sean Doyle, so probably in traffic. So we've got the luxury of knowing that, but these drivers out front concentrating on what's happening on track probably haven't got that level of information available to them. But at the moment, it looks like he's going to stay out and just shadow Stuart Vaughan.
So not necessarily pitting now, but if you think Vaughan's going to pit lap 18, do you try to pit lap 16 or 17? At that point, second place might already be short up, and you just, by having that offset, have a chance at maybe undercutting them. Of the drivers that have pitted already, though, there's a few battles out. Kyle Ridley's the highest running car to have pitted, but just behind him is battle between Sean Doyle and Brody Shepherd. Just behind that is this battle, Aaron Freund and Ben Miles.
Make the way underneath the Dunlop Bridge into the right-hand hairpin. We've already seen a couple of cars get loose under brakes to change of direction through here, but Aaron and Ben, they're doing it quite comfortably there at the moment, just like clockwork, I should say. As a little bit of sun comes out here in the Japanese countryside.
My favourite clockwork is that Casio calculator watch. Bring that back, but yeah, looking at that weather, sun's out and it's got some power to it, but the air is relatively cool, and you can see that the shade is coming and going. It was shady at the start, and now the sun came back out. Now it goes back behind the clouds once again. Top 6 yet to pits. Vaughan, Duke, Chastanoff, Wallmeyer, Wheeler, and Verning. Everyone behind them has, and these are the battles because of it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time to stop and take a breath. Where they were a fortnight ago at the Fuji Speedway, there was plenty of time for the drivers to stop and catch their breath, but being a short little circuit here tonight, not a lot of opportunity to take it easy. So we see Ben Wheeler make his way into pit lane to complete his transit. He dives down to the 60km/h mark to go from cone to cone. He is going to come out with a little bit of traffic just behind him. No, he's coming up with some clean air around him, so that's good little opportunity for Ben.
And this is where he rejoins, but there's drama there with Warren Henry almost rejoining or sliding across the track in front of his teammate. And Ira Felberg did get through unscathed on that one.
That was the Zach Code Brown moment for Ira, but most importantly, they didn't make contact. The last person you want to hit is your teammate, as Warren Henry does a bit of a disappearing act mid-slide. Doing his best to get off the racing line, but inadvertently does a pretty good job of almost holding up Ira. So lucky for those two drivers, they managed to continue without any damage. I'm sure there would have been words within the team after that if that was the case.
Stacking going around in the middle of the circuit there, staying out of the way of the leaders, Vaughan and Duke, though. Warren Henry definitely has a Senna helmet going on as far as checking all of that out. Past the halfway point of this race, most drivers have pitted, but the winning strategy in race one was to go long, and that looks like what Vaughan and Duke are still doing. More dramas elsewhere, and that's the outside of the final corner for Warren Davis.
Yeah, that car looks pretty terminal. Wheels facing the wrong direction. He looks pretty lonely sitting there out in the grass, but I don't think there's much coming back from that as Adrian Duke crosses the line, setting another fastest lap. So he's got plenty of speed on his side at the moment. But again, like we made reference to earlier, track position is key. This is a replay of Warren Davis and how that all unfolded. But tank slapper and a very hard hit into the wall on the left-hand side, taking out both the front and the rear suspension.
Like I say, we've seen others almost just lean into the slide, go exactly sideways, scrub some speed off and be able to keep going, but he snapped back the other way as he steered into the skid. Only a couple laps left where they could pit these leading group. You can see James Chasseneuve still just 4 seconds behind the leaders, but the lap times subtly quicker for Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke, because they're both doing 47.9s, 47.8s. Last lap for James Chasseneuve, 58.1, just losing 0.2 to the race leader, not able to close in on Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Duke. And there's the gap from Kyle Ridley, who's made his stop, to Stuart Vaughan, who hasn't, knowing that the transit time through the lane's about 13 seconds and that Kyle Ridley, with some good lap times at the moment, in fact, his personal best last lap, maybe just eking down that gap a little bit. It's, in adjusted terms, you would say Kyle Ridley's probably only a second or so behind the race leader, but it's that traffic that will do you in, and he has a little bit there as he needs to get past Nathan Verney.
Yeah, so Ridley, like you said, showing really good speed, taking away the fastest lap of the race last time by from Adrian Duke. So while he had really good speed there, just coming across a little bit of traffic in this lap as another lap driver does his best to get out of the way. That might be Jordan Dakin, I think, on the right-hand side, making his way back onto the racing line.
Wallmeyer through the pit lane, not able to go with James Chasseneuve in third. He takes his stop and, of course, will rejoin behind Kyle Ridley. Again, critical for these points and these positions that Ridley's going for. Here's Wallmeyer rejoining right amongst the teammates, Brody Shepherd and Sean Doyle. He's side by side with Shepherd at the moment, and will have the inside when they get to the next big hairpin here. Not ideal on the rejoin for Wallmeyer, half a second, and he would have been 2 spots higher up the road.
So there's 7 laps to go on this 20-lap feature race. All these drivers here are on radial tyres, so these tyres do tend to last quite a long time and well exceed the 20-lap feature race or the sprint race we have here tonight. So that's why you can see the drivers trundling through pit lane. They don't have to stop and change tyres. They've got enough fuel to go from green to checkers. But just to make things interesting there, Ozicar are running a compulsory transit pit lane stop, I guess, for a better word, throughout the course of this season.
While Meyer's having a couple of looks, he has a little bit of a lockup. Ozicar Formula Ford originally had a compulsory 4-tyre change for a bit of strategy in the races, but the randomness of how long it takes the crew to change 4 tyres on this car, it has almost an 8, almost 10-second variability on the low range to the high range. And so in a 20-minute race, it was literally just that roll of the dice on the RNG that was deciding who was winning races. So they transferred that to keep a little bit of strategy, but put it back in the driver's hands with these drive-throughs instead, which Stuart Vaughan is opting to take a little bit earlier. Adrian Duke's got to find some wicked good lap times right now.
So the all-important critical thing we need to watch is what traffic does Stuart Vaughan come out into. Has he got clear road in front of him? It looks like he might do as he makes his way around turn 1. This is Kyle Ridley, who was our leading car that had pitted. You see him in the background, and Stuart Vaughan there got about 2 or 3 seconds to the car in front. This is Kyle Ridley making his way through the left-hand hairpin on the infield part of the section, and she's getting pretty busy between Sean Doyle, Brody Shepherd and Jacob Woolmeyer, 6, 7 and 8 on track at the moment. This little battle's pretty much been going from the moment the lights went green 15 laps ago. It still hasn't sorted itself out.
It's still going. So does Duke run long in the race lead, or does he react quickly to the stop from Stuart Vaughan? Still only got then Chastanoff and Nathan Verney yet to stop. Verney's in picture here in a bit of traffic with cars that have stopped. Doyle ahead of Shepherd, ahead of Woolmeyer is the battle at the moment, though. Woolmeyer's got speed, and I think if he was 1v1 with Brody Shepherd, he might get ahead, but it's this sort of team game that he's up against that sort of means he's fighting with one arm against his back, but Doyle has a moment on the outside, big wobbly moment, teammates side by side, blocking out Jacob Woolmeyer, who will then have that as an opportunity to get down the inside. The teammates almost touch, I think, and Woolmeyer gets the both of them. Doyle around in the middle of the lap.
That was more good luck
now
than good measure.
Woolmeyer's sideways.
I don't know how those two drivers managed to avoid Sean Doyle mid-spin, but one went inside, one went outside amongst the big cloud of brake dust and smoke. Quick look at the replay of this here. With car 74 in front is the one we're focusing on.
No contact between the teammates. I think maybe just a bad downshift or bias to rearwards, or just snapping the rear brake at an inopportune time across the camber change. There's Verney getting 2 tyres in the grass, and what I talked about was a narrow pit entry. Means there's only 2 drivers that haven't stopped at this point. Only 3 laps left in the race, and plenty of battles to go for Ozicar Formula Ford from Tsukuba. Woolmeyer needing to hold off a resurgent Brody Shepherd.
Interestingly, Stuart Vaughan's taken the fastest lap of the race since making his pit lane transit as well. So obviously, clean track working to his benefit, and was managed to put his head down and make the most of that opportunity. So it'll be pretty interesting if Adrian Dukes managed to make any headway on him at all, with Stuart Vaughan holding that fastest lap at the moment.
Still Woolmeyer battling Shepherd. Our friend got ahead of Sean Doyle when Doyle was spun, and they're just in the background of the shot here and just ahead of Ben Miles. Nathan Verney's rejoined the race just in front of Benjamin Wheeler. It's all battles in the mid-pack, and we're waiting for the strategy to play out to see what the battle is for the race lead. Here's Adrian Duke leading the way at the moment, hasn't stopped. He's only 10 seconds clear of Stuart Vaughan, who has.
Yes, Adrian Duke coming up to lap traffic, so it would be an ideal opportunity for him to dive into pit lane. I don't think he's going to get to that car in front before the pit lane approaches. Might use a little bit of slipstream down this back straight on the fastest part of the circuit going into the final corner before he peels off and dives into pit lane. You'll see car number 60 and car number 42 do exactly that, I believe, as we have 2 laps to go.
Here comes Adrian Duke. If this is absolutely perfect, he'll rejoin side by side with Stuart Vaughan. And if it's not, expect to see Vaughan scoot around the outside on the racing line here and take back the race lead as he takes the start of the final lap. James Chastanoff also on the pit lane. Woolmeyer battling side by side through the final corner. It's all happening, but Vaughan swoops around the outside of turn number 1, back into the lead of the race. Jacob Wallmeyer around the outside of Brodie Shepherd, like they were in the final corner as well. Shepherd's gotten that spot back. With all of the pit stops, it's now the battle for 5th place. James Chastano has rejoined the race in front of them still.
So final lap, final opportunity as these drivers battle for position on track from P1 right through to effectively P18. Car number 29 on screen. This is Aaron Freen and Sean Doyle. Battle for 7th and 8th. Seen Sean have a little bit of a spin a couple of laps ago, but he's looking to recoup and recover any positions and gain any points he can as the leader final approaches the last corner and makes use of all that runoff onto the straight. Gets the checkered flag and takes 2 wins from 2 starts tonight. Adrian Duke, very good result for him as well, finishing P2.
Is Shepherd holding off Wallmeyer as they come to the checkered flag there in 5th and 6th places respectively. Wallmeyer had his nose in front for a little bit, couldn't hold on, and a great battle those two have just had. And the rest of the field taking the checkered flag at this moment as well. Here's Aaron Friend and Ben Miles as they battled all the way to the end. Thought he had that inside covered off. Ben Miles gets his nose down the inside. Aaron Friend runs out wide, gets some of the grass. Luckily, it's very grippy grass these days, but he did lose that spot. And to Sean Doyle, and then
Sean Doyle there having a look down the inside.
And then Ben Miles almost pipped him at the line. Was the end. So 2 races, 2 race wins for the Vaughan supremacy.
So happy hunting ground for Stuart Vaughan tonight. 2 wins, 2 starts, and most importantly, the feature race tonight. Adrian Duke can't be disappointed with his efforts as well, taking pole position and then 2 second places, so a great points haul for him. Kyle Ridley, again, car number 27, a couple of 3rd places tonight, so consistency is key. Then we've got Chastanoff, Brodie Shepherd, Jacob Wallmeyer in P6. Sean Doyle, after all that, rounding out P7 in the final race tonight. Aaron Friend, Ben Miles, and Nathan Verney do round out your top 10.
They do, with Ben Wheeler, Ira Thalberg, Warren Henry, Dennis Hancock, Darren Lesueur behind, and all on the lead lap. Jordan Dakin found race 2 tougher than race 1 and ended up 2 laps down with some damage early and then a spin or 2, and then, of course, just in the traffic and trying to get out of everyone's way. 3 laps down for Warren Davis and John Snell, who also had a little bit of damage. And we didn't see Darren Shannon again in race number 2.
So 20 laps of action-packed racing, exactly what Tsukuba did promise us and what we were expecting here tonight, an Ozicar Formula Ford Series. So good little tight, twisty track. A little bit different from what we've been through for the first part of the season. And next week, in a fortnight's time, we'll be back again to Twin Ring Matigi, quite a fast-flowing and lots of sweeping corners. So good little mix of circuits here over the course of the season. And Tsukuba 2000, of course, producing a great result tonight.
Our double race winner stops by and Stuart Vaughan joins us now. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Adrian made me work hard for that one, so it's not much of a break around there. I'm absolutely drenched.
It does look like there's only a couple of corners, but you've got to get all of them right all of the time. And then when you do battle, there's no easy passes. It looks like battles take 2-3 corners to resolve, so you didn't want to get in that situation early the way that you played the strategy.
Yeah, it's pretty hard track to overtake unless someone really makes a mistake, which I think a majority of it's probably going to be down into turn 1 under brakes there. The rear end seems to kick out, but I was also really conscious of the fastest lap, so I was just trying my hardest to try and get that in the second one especially, but without binning it as well. So no, it's a twisty little track.
Race 2, pole to the win sounds pretty easy, but what about race 1 where you started second and you got to the lead very quickly? Is it just a matter of clutch bite points? Is it a matter of your feel for the car on cold tyres? What got you to the front early?
I think it's very much so the clutch bite point. I've sort of played around a little bit with it each race start, but I've sort of found maybe about the 40% mark seems to be the sweet spot. So yeah.
Worked out for you. You take the points, you extend a little bit of the championship lead, and there's only 2 rounds left to go now.
Yeah, it's always good to hear. So I know the series is sort of probably coming down a little bit now, but we'll look forward to whatever Aussie car can put together for the next one as well.
see you in 2 weeks at Motegi, hopefully.
See you, boys.
Race winner Stuart Vaughan. How about the driver who finished second in both races, Adrian Duke, with Jason Fewens?
G'day, how's it going?
Good evening. Managed to catch your breath and take a quick recap of how race 1 and 2 went tonight, mate. Very, very good result for yourself.
Yeah, I'm not used to being here, so it's nice to have some pace. Yeah, first race, I lit up the tyres a bit too much at the start. We've got a pretty high gear ratio here, so normally we just floor it at the start, but today that did not work. So yeah, unfortunately I lost that first place at the first corner. But the second race, when Stuart went in first to pit, yeah, I just pushed it a little bit too hard. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I lost it out there. I think I did have the pace to kind of. I think when I came out of pits, I was 7/10 behind him. I think I would have had that over the 3 laps, but yeah, I pushed too hard.
Well, pace you definitely did have tonight. Of course, at the start of the night, you found yourself on pole position, which is so. First of all, congratulations for that. So I think that might have been your first Aussie car pole in quite a while, if not first one ever. So you definitely had the pace outright, and then. It was pretty much a 2-horse race between yourself and Stuart for the remaining of the 40 laps over the 2 races. And were you keen for a win, or were you more thinking about championship and just securing a heap of points?
I missed one round, and I had a pretty bad race, so I don't think I'm in it for any championship contention. But yeah, I was trying to convert the pole into a win, because I've had pole, I think, once before, maybe last season. And back a year ago or so in the F4s, yeah, still trying to get that first race win. But yeah, the guys, everyone, there's quite a few fast drivers in here, so I'm just happy to be in contention for a podium.
Yeah, well, you did manage to secure the fastest lap of the race throughout the night a couple of times with some real good consistency. So this short, tight, twisty track really suiting your driving style by the looks of things, because if it wasn't for Stuart tonight, it would have definitely been a powered by coffee domination out there this evening. So excellent result for yourself with a couple of rounds to go. You're looking forward to the rest of the calendar and what it has to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the themed tracks that we've got. I think we're in Japan on every circuit this season. So yeah, yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully I can get the win in the next one.
Yeah, well, we have spoke about it. Twin Ring Motegi is our next circuit before rounding up the season at the short Okayama circuit. So again, short circuit to close the season off. So it would be great to potentially see you on the podium and back in the commentators box again before the end of the season, mate. Congratulations tonight. Good points haul. And do you want to do a quick shout out to your sponsors and teammates before you go?
Yeah, well, my sponsors is just no one. Sorry. Shout out to Ben Wheeler, who's in the other car. I'm not sure if he was on tonight, but yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Happy to be here. Man
of many, a few words, but great pace tonight. Well done, Adrian Duke, car 60, powered by coffee tonight, securing second place in both race 1 and race 2 tonight. So big things towards the end of the season for Adrian. So absolutely stellar performance. And as we wrap up tonight, we'll drag our third place getter up into the commentary box. I think Dave has Kyle Ridley beside him with a recap of tonight's race.
Yep, 2 third places for you, but good pace in race 1, and the strategy worked out for you there, and a little bit more battling in race 2, but still coming away with a podium.
That's right. Yeah, two third places. Pretty. Yeah, can't complain. You know, I had the pace. It was good having the pace. Tsukuba is one of those tracks that just naturally suits me, so I was happy to have said pace. Just screwed up quality a little bit, so raced a little bit on the back foot, and then race 2 with the early pit stop and the battling on the first lap kind of took me out of the top 2, so it just became a interesting pace race for third, which I came out on top. So yeah, 2 third places, pretty happy.
Why do you think James Chastanoff's so slow?
I wouldn't say slow. On the I had race labs on and he was losing a couple hundreds each lap, but over the course of 15 to 20 laps that came to a second.
realistically, a lap around here is only 4 or 5 corners, so getting absolutely every one of them right absolutely every single time seems to be the challenge, and that's tough to do with how the balance of the Formula Ford looked from the outside.
Absolutely. The balance tonight was very rearward. It was very, if you banged it down the gears too much or just turned in too much, the rear would overtake the front. So in race 2, I kind of just took it back a few percent and drove to basically a number, and it worked quite well.
Certainly did, with 2 third places, some pretty impressive pace and some good calls on when to run through the pit lane to avoid traffic and not end up in too much of it.
That's right.
2 more rounds to go. We go back to Okayama, but on the short layout. We've got Motegi for next round. Are those tracks going to suit you?
I don't know. I quite like Motegi. I actually don't know what layout it is. If it's Motegi East, I'll be pretty happy. But Okayama is also a happy hunting ground for me, so I'll be happy to come and speak to you guys again. Another couple third places.
Well, best of luck. We look forward to seeing more great Formula Ford racing in Ozicar Formula Ford, and hopefully you'll be part of it for the remaining 2 rounds.
Thank you.
Our podium, and it was the same podium for both races, just going to show how important the consistency was around Tsukuba. In 2 weeks' time for the next round, we go to Motegi. It's on the full Grand Prix layout, so a very different characteristic than Tsukuba, where we've just been, and then the championships decided in a month's time on Okayama Short. That will be a little bit of a flashback to what Tsukuba was like today. Thanks for joining us on Simspeed TV. Myself, David Haynes, with Jason Fewens, our producer, Jay Kennedy. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're watching as we bring you all of the remaining rounds of the Ozicar Formula Ford Series. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Motegi.